Let's talk about pain. I've thought about pain a lot. I've had chronic pain for almost 20 years, so I thought about it a lot, but I thought about it not very well. I've certainly paid attention to the physiology of it to some degree, and of course, I understand the fundamental importance of pain. We need pain. It's hard to imagine biological organisms surviving without some form of pain for any length of time. Certainly in any kind of situation of natural selection. Because after all, creatures that don't feel pain don't have alarms to tell them when they're being damaged. Don't avoid damage and break down. We know this. There are people who have congenital inability to experience pain, or at least a very limited ability to experience pain, and they don't live very long, and they become crippled early by simple things like not shifting when they stand still, which leads to circulatory problems in their joints. You and I, humans, and other creatures, don't stand still or sit still in one position indefinitely because it becomes uncomfortable. As circulation decreases, and compression to nerves, we get feedback signals telling us, hey, this sitting still here for too long is going to do damage. Move. So I've thought about pain a lot, and I understand that it's necessary. I make my joke the whole life is pain. Anyone who tells you differently is selling something from The Princess Bride. It's not strictly true. I don't strictly agree with it. It's not that life is pain. That implies that life is identical with pain. Pain, however, is part of life. I suspect for any evolved beings anyway, it's going to have to be. And any designed beings that don't have any pain of any kind would probably not last indefinitely. Even the Mars rovers have signals that they send back to NASA when something's going wrong. Even deep space probes, as long as they're interacting with us, are able to send signals when something's not kosher, so to speak. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make, and not getting to, is that I've thought a lot about pain, but I don't think I've thought about it in as useful a way as I might. Because an idea occurred to me today. Pain is like an alarm, a siren, a klaxon. It's a warning bell. And as such, what matters is not the pain, but what it's telling us. With chronic pain, it's a misapplication. But it may really be telling us about damage, but it may be damage about which we can do nothing. Damage which is inescapable, at least with present technology, medical and otherwise. And it's not progressing, it's not threatening our lives in any immediate fashion, though sometimes we wish it were. And when I say we, I mean I. So the problem becomes, you have a situation where there's smoke in the air because you're cooking a meal that makes some kind of particulate go into the air, and it activates a fire alarm, but it's not actually indicating a fire. Or maybe it's indicating a fire in a stricter sense. There's something chemically changing, oxidizing, producing the gas, but it's not a danger. But you can't get the batteries out of the fire alarm. You can't reach the fire alarm directly. You can muffle it temporarily, but that's even got problems. This is maybe not a very good analogy. But anyway, the point is that you're working in a workplace where There's a constant intruder alert, intruder alert, intruder alert because a tree branch fell on an outside fence. But you can't fix the fence. You can't reach the tree because the radiation levels are too high outside. Pretend. Anyway, maybe the analogies aren't as good as the real thing. But the question becomes, can we learn to ignore the siren? I mean, you don't completely want to ignore the siren, especially if the siren can change or allow you to know about new things. But it may be that if you're able to squelch the siren temporarily for varying amounts and varying periods of time, as with pain medication, maybe you don't learn to tolerate it. Maybe it becomes worse because you get moments of comparative freedom interspersed with moments of comparative great intensity of pain, siren, if you will. And because you have the moments of freedom, the moments of pain feel worse. And because of potentiation of the nervous system, it may actually be worse. Maybe it's like going in a sewer and it smells bad, so you plug your nose. But you have work to do. You can't keep your nose plugged all the time. So you have to do your work, and anytime you need both hands to do it, you let go. You try not to breathe, but you get some of the smell, and it's horrible, and whenever you can, you stop and you plug your nose again. But as anyone's familiar who's had a nose for any length of time that works will know that the way the nervous system is set up, for smell anyway, after a while, you stop even noticing a constant smell, no matter how bad, even if it's raw sewage. So by plugging your nose, you're actually making your experience worse. It's the moments of freedom from the odor that make the odor not merely worse, but make it exist at all. Now, pain doesn't work neurologically the same as the sense of smell does, obviously. Pain is meant to be an alarm. It's not meant, I say meant, it's not shaped. It doesn't exist to be easily ignored. That would be a bad thing. It'd be like eating one meal and never feeling hungry again. So, I'm not certain or suspecting that pain is ever going to be non-existent in someone who has chronic pain necessarily. And pain is associated with local inflammation and various other things that pain signals trigger in the body. But psychologically, it may indeed be possible to become accustomed to working with the siren going, to cooking while the fire alarm is going, to ignoring the flashing light that's always going. People think that if they had to deal with something like that, it would drive them insane. If there was a flashing light that would never stop flashing, if there was a noise that would never stop, and yet here I've got a fan rolling here beside me, been on all day. I don't notice it until I pay attention to it. Oh, it makes me have to speak louder or turn up the volume louder since I already have hearing trouble. I can sleep through the night with it on. It doesn't disturb my sleep in the slightest. And in Florida, it helps my sleep because it cools me down. Oh, sorry. Actually, probably doesn't cool me down much. It helps me stay at a pleasant temperature without my body having to do as much work. I think maybe people can learn to become accustomed to more than we think we can. Certainly there were stretches of time when I didn't have access to anything for pain. Occasionally I could get one from canteen. Now I was sleeping on nice, hard, firm mattresses and pillows that actually turned out to be good for my back. But I don't think that's it. That's not the only part of it. sometimes I think being able to treat pain temporarily and actually doing so on a regular basis, psychologically, not literally, makes the experience of pain worse when you feel it, and may make the long-term suffering worse. Would it be worse to constantly be tortured with an electric shock going through you without let up, or to have electric shocks go through you for a while, then pause and give it a nice massage? It's so relaxed, so pleasant just before the next shock. To be suffocated, but then before you pass out, allowed to breathe. That's a little different, though. I don't pretend to have any answers, but hopefully questions that can help me, and maybe someone out there knows the answers. So if you think you know the answers, odds are you don't.